Well, I've been a prosecuting attorney all my adult professional career of 30 years, and that's all I've ever done. So obviously I'm very committed and focused, and I've always been passionate about upholding the rights of victims and seeking justice for victims of crime. When I went over to Richland County last year at the invitation of the Richland County Prosecutor, Christopher Tennell, I immediately began getting calls and contacts from law enforcement, from former co-workers, and ultimately what tipped the scale were a couple of contacts from victims of crime asking me to please run for this office, to come back and restore integrity to the office and to repair and rejuvenate the relationship between that office and law enforcement that I've always enjoyed, and ultimately to put the rights of victims back on the front and not just make talking points out of those matters. The morale is at an all-time low in that office. The turnover rate is unprecedented. We haven't seen that kind of turnover in that office since James Mayer took office back in 1988, and he purged the office. This time we're seeing people that are just dedicated professionals who've been there for years, who intended to retire out of that office, just quitting, just saying I can't work in this kind of hostile atmosphere, and resigning in large numbers. So that's the biggest problem, is the morale, the turnover, and the lack of leadership, the lack of mentoring, the lack of training. So many trials are being lost because no one's training the newer and younger attorneys. So those are the biggest issues right now. We're sworn as prosecutors to uphold the law and to uphold the Constitution of the United States and the state of Ohio. And sometimes that puts us in a position where we're making decisions that are not necessarily popular with the public. I don't bow to public pressure, never have. I've always upheld the law, and I've always applied it judiciously and fairly. I'm a tough prosecutor, but I'm fair, and a lot of people recognize that, including both sides of the equation. Law enforcement recognizes me for that. The defense bar, the practicing defense bar, recognizes me for that as well. So the sense of integrity that you have to maintain is one of those things that takes care of most of the issues that come up in a prosecutor's office.